I loaded up Only Up with one simple challenge in mind, to beat it in under 90 minutes, and that turned out to be a lot more than I expected. Only Up is a game released and published by SCKR Games in May of 2023, and it is a game that can only be described as punishing. The premise is simple. You start at the bottom and climb strange and random obstacles until you reach the very top. The catch, however, is that there are no save points, and if you fall, you either carry on wherever you were lucky enough to catch yourself, or you start over again at the very bottom, having to redo all of your hard work. So here's where things get interesting. This isn't my first time playing Only Up. I had previously beaten Only Up with a final time of 407 minutes, or 6 hours and 47 minutes. And while I know that may not seem all that impressive, at the time, it felt like I had just conquered the world. I managed to beat it a second time in around 90 minutes as well, and it felt good to increase my time so dramatically, and this left me feeling accomplished for a while, but soon I wanted to know if I could do even better. And look, while I'm nowhere near the level of a speedrunner at Only Up, I still wanted to challenge myself, so I decided that I was going to really push myself to see if I could beat my best time of 90 minutes, even if it's only by a few seconds. So I loaded into Only Up and began streaming my attempts on Twitch. While I would say that I am nowhere near good at this game, having reflexes like a newborn child unable to save myself from my own poor movements most times, I will say that at the start of this journey, I felt good. I downloaded a speedrunning timer to keep track of my time the best I could, and I felt that I was doing a solid pace for the first portion of the game. Obstacles that had taken me hours in my first few playthroughs, I was now breezing by, reaching the construction site in just 8 minutes. Not soon after though, my confidence proved to be my downfall as I had my first fall of many at just 12 minutes, due to misjudging the distance of the windmill. No. Okay, no big deal. Slight inconvenience. Okay, even slighter inconvenience. Okay. While I kept my composure and pushed on, I ended up having to do my first hard reset 24 minutes in. After taking a moment and collecting myself, I set out once again to achieve my goal, having to reset one more time before it seemed like I was back in a good rhythm. Little did I know that disaster was about to strike. See, on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/lesliethadefilr, viewers can request to see my beautiful cat Gary. And when one viewer requested to see him, I tried to pause the game and the speedrunning timer at the same time, but in doing so, I accidentally pressed the wrong key and just completely reset the timer, which meant that from now on that timer was completely useless. Alright, I'm pausing the timer. No, I just reset it! This would mean that I wouldn't have much of an idea of how close I was to my ideal time of less than 90 minutes. Regardless though, I pushed forward and hoped that my efforts would be good enough, pushing through fall after fall until eventually I reached the top. And as I rose up that final platform, I was greeted with a final time of 109 minutes, just 20 minutes past what I needed to complete this challenge. Needless to say, I was heartbroken. Well over 2 hours of hard work was just nothing but failure at that point. So what I decided to do was I was going to step away for a moment, recenter myself, and go back and try again. Oh, okay. Taking a moment, gathered myself, centered, my skill and my chakras are now all aligned. Let's see if we can pull this off. So after a little bit of rest, and regaining what little sanity I was hanging on to at that time, I decided it was time to get back on the grind and get to the top. I had the grand idea to actually try some different speedrunning strategies, but sadly, I just was not able to pull them off consistently enough for them to be any kind of real help to me. This, mixed with my bad luck, would mean that I was plagued with a lot of issues in the early stages of the game. I was now struggling to overcome even early on obstacles such as the pipes, which I have now declared my mortal enemy. It seemed like my coordination was just going to be getting worse and worse with each attempt I would make, and early on, This was causing my morale and motivation to quickly dwindle. Eventually though, I did make the decision to not hard reset anymore and just press on in hopes that I would soon find my rhythm again. Since speedrunning strategies were out of the question because of my lack of skill, this would mean that I would just have to rely on running through the obstacles at a normal pace, hoping that I would be fast enough to achieve my goal. And thankfully I was able to pull off enough of the shortcuts along the way that I did get back into a groove, and I felt fairly confident that I was at a good speed to make it all the way back to the top again. After what felt like an eternity, I eventually made it to the most pivotal shortcut of any run that was going to be viable for me, and that's the cannon and champagne bottle skip. If I use this correctly, this shortcut could easily save me 20 to 30 minutes of time, assuming that I don't screw it up later on. You see, the way that this skip works is if you go to sit in the cannon after coming off the pirate ship and you jump a little bit before it shoots you out, you'll have just the right amount of momentum to make it up over the ceiling of ice, where you'll see a wine glass and a champagne bottle. Climbing up on top of the champagne bottle will send you flying up and skip a huge part of the next two areas, putting you well ahead of where you would have been without it, landing on top of the Japanese garden. Now, the reason that this is so big is because this skip essentially puts you right next to the second to last area of the game, meaning that there was very little at that point standing between you and the end of the game. And after a few tries with the cannon, I was finally able to pull it off, and away I went, hoping to trailblaze the rest of the obstacles in my way. Now comes the hard part, okay, because right here in these last two areas, I don't have a lot of practice here. I've only been here before a total of 3 times, and this next part, this maze garden, I have a very hard time with. There's something about these jumps I just cannot time very precisely at all. There are 2 big issues surrounding this maze garden. The first is that there is a gigantic dragon flying around, and if he gets you with his wing as it's flapping, it will most certainly end this run. The other issue, if you look at the time, I'm already at 55 minutes, meaning that I basically have to get through this area as fast as I can if I want to have any kind of respectable time and complete my challenge. Luckily, I'm able to get through with not too many problems. I think I fell maybe once or twice, but was able to recover quickly and make it to the next area, the space section, which unfortunately during my first playthrough earlier in the day was giving me a lot of trouble. Now, the issue that you're going to come across in the space section is that there are these little bounce pads everywhere. And the issue is some of them you need to be sprinting at in order to make it to the next one, and others you can just run at it. And if you sprint, you're going to go too far. So it was always a balancing act of, do I need to sprint or do I need to run? And sometimes there's just so many of them that I would just forget which one to do, and I would get stuck in this cycle of going too far and just having to rinse and repeat. And eventually though, I did end up getting out of that. So here is where you guys can kind of see the beginning of the space section and also those bounce pads. Now, I do believe in this part of the run, I was already handling these bounce pads really well. If you look at the time, I'm already at 63 minutes, so there's really not a whole lot of room for a mistake, because I do not want to keep spending my time on these bounce pads, as if I get stuck in this endless cycle with them, I'll be here all day. So I was trying my hardest to just speed through them, remember which ones I had to sprint for, which ones I could just walk up to and then jump on. And overall, I do believe that it ended up being a very good run through this section, and I was very pleased with how I was able to handle this part right here. So I have now been working towards this goal of completing Only Up in under 90 minutes for an entire total of just over 6 hours today, which means that there's only a few more bounce pads standing between me and my ultimate goal. And at this point, guys, my wrist is absolutely killing me. It is cramping, I'm getting way too tense, and there's just a few more jumps standing in my way. And as you can see here, all we have to do now is run over to that final little pedestal that's gonna raise us up, and we will get our final time. And I can feel my heart pounding because you look at the time right now, we're at 105, which means that if we hurry, we can absolutely shatter our goal of beating it in 90 minutes. And right here you see that our final time ended up becoming right in at 67 minutes. An entire 23 minutes faster than we set out to do.
Let's go!
I could not be happier with how this turned out.
67 minutes. That's what I am talking about. Oh my god, and even better, that means I don't have to go again. Woo! I'm so pumped right now. Jeez. Yes! Oh my god. I need to take a break. My wrist absolutely hurts.
Well, there you guys have it. We absolutely beat our challenge, and I am so excited to give my wrist a break and maybe just take a little bit of a break from Only Up for a while. And that's all I have for this video, guys. If you enjoyed what you saw, please make sure to like and subscribe. And also, if you want to come watch me stream over on Twitch, it's at twitch.tv/lesliethadefilr. I'm streaming every day, so please come in and say hello. I'd love to see you guys. If you want to see any other kind of video, make sure you comment and leave some suggestions, and I'll be happy to really go for anything. So I will see you guys on the next video.